Wonderful, wonderful. This way, our friends on Facebook can possibly participate and ask us questions on Instagram, on YouTube, on Twitter, and one other place. We're all over social media. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the BeatCancer.Org Ask a Holistic Cancer Coach weekly call. The
I want to
date
talk
is,
about Foucauldian.
yeah, we'll certainly get to suggestions in a little while, Craig. Thank you.
Okay.
Let me just do the introduction first. So welcome. The date is September the 12th of 2024. As a quick reminder, nothing that we say on this call is intended to be taken as explicit medical advice. This is simply an educational resource call where we can explore certain topics for the appropriate review hereafter. And normally we have some of our holistic cancer coaches on. Um, Several of them might join us a little later, but anyway, we can get into whatever conversation that we want all the same. As a reminder, if someone else is speaking and you have some background noise going on, please do have your microphone muted. This way, there's no interruption in us hearing everybody else's comments. You're more than welcome to unmute when you're ready to speak. You can also chime in by putting your comment or question in the chat box here on Zoom, or if you're watching this on social media, you can put your comment or question in the chat section right there, and I'll be sure to pitch it for discussion as soon as possible. Um, Wonderful, wonderful. So yeah, Craig, you were asking about Foucauldian again, is that correct?
Yes, I'm telling everybody about Foucauldian and they don't want to use it
Okay. Why don't they want to use it?
because it's too expensive.
True. Um,
Too expensive.
Yeah. Well, it's actually not something that I am particularly familiar with. I know we've talked about it a few times on the call. So I mean, what are your thoughts? Is the value of Foucauldian justify the cost of it to you, or do you think these people's concerns are warranted?
I was listening to a call of a formulator whose whose father had a lot of pain and he did an MRI and there was a story of a Japanese woman with ovarian stage 4 ovarian cancer, and the doctor said, "Do you want to try Foucauldian?" And she did, and the tumor shrunk, and she started using more. And after she started using the Foucauldian from Sissel, her tumors shrunk. So his father started on this regimen, and he was no more pain. But it's all about relationships. It doesn't matter. You have to not talk about any products, whether it's Juice Plus, none of it. It's all about creating a relationship. That's what it's all about.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if someone feels that you're just trying to sell them a product, especially if you're someone that affiliates with a particular product, then of course there's always a level of doubt on if the product does what you're alleging it to, if you're recommending it to someone. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, I'm not sure what your involvement is with any Foucauldian product, but if it's genuinely something that you think is helpful to people and then you come across genuine, all you can do
Yeah.
is lead a horse to water, right? You can't
Yep. That's all I can do.
you share some resources and they can make use of them if they so choose. Um, so do you have anything else to say on that topic?
Can I interject with that?
Absolutely.
Fucoidan is extremely expensive. In Japan, it goes a 25-ounce bottle goes anywhere from $300 to $700, but you do not want it from Japan because those waters are so toxic. So you've got to get the right source. And I don't want to talk about products, but I do know a lot about Fucor, and I think I've talked about it with you, Zach. But it is an amazing product. The one that we have has 8 molecules, and it's extraordinary. We won the Genius Award back in 2008, and we get it from Tonga. And where it's just it's too much to explain, but and it doesn't cure cancer or cure, we have to say it this way, it supports the body to help you fight cancer and Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. And I mean, it just helps with a lot of things, but it's an antioxidant. It's a natural product, and you just have to have it a potent amount. And I will tell you, I have not, I'm not going to give you my testimonial, but I do know what he's talking about. That lady had ovarian cancer, and they sent her home to die.
Right.
And the formulate, once you have cancer, you have to be incredibly aggressive with this stuff. That's why I love Beat Cancer, because we talk about prevention. Prevention is the cure. And that's what I stress to everyone for nutrition. And, if you're doing supplements or some kind of nutraceuticals, prevention is the cure, especially with what they're doing with our food. It's just horrendous every day. And I learned from all of you. You were talking about the spray that comes down on the organic. It's unbelievable what's happening. So anyway,
Yeah, there's certainly a
it's
lot
a
of
good
things out
product.
there.
It's
There's
a good,
certainly a lot of things out there that'll make your head spin with
right.
the potential harm that they might be doing. And it's absolutely a important point that you bring up, Bobby, in that prevention is always going to be more ideal. And when we understand that cancer isn't random, we understand that health is on a spectrum, then we can keep that in mind throughout our day-to-day basis and try to do actions and avoid, that will bring us only towards the healthier side of the spectrum and avoid actions as much as we can of things that are going to bring us towards the end of disease and unwellness, whether that be cancer or one of the other many names that unwellness goes by in the body. I see, Tim, you have your hand raised.
Oh, yes. I'm just not familiar with this product that everybody is talking about.
You and me both.
Oh, how do you spell it? Because I'm not sure that
The spelling, and you can go on pubmed.gov, Tim, and it's spelled F-U.
Did you say SU?
F is in Frank,
Oh, Frank.
U,
Yeah.
C as in cat, O-I, D
Uh-huh.
as in dog, A-N. That is the way you spell it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, but yes.
Okay.
But if you want some more information, you can call me, or, you know,
Okay.
we can connect.
Wonderful.
Can I share a video about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I will allow you to share screen here. Thank you for.
No, I'm just gonna put it in the chat. The link to a
Oh, okay.
YouTube video was about it.
Cool.
Yeah, I've got a lot of videos on it as well,
Okay.
and doctors talking about it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh.
So Maya's putting that in the chat, and this is a quick a good place to note for anyone that's watching on social media such as Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Certain resources that we share are in the Zoom link in the Zoom chat. So if you want to snag those up and check those out, you can navigate over to BeatCancer.org, click on the weekly call button right at the top, and then join our Zoom meeting from there. Everybody's welcome, no commitment necessary, and you'll be able to access the chat of specific resources that we end up sharing right there. Um, awesome. But in the meantime, do feel free to add any comments or questions in the social media chats as well, and we'll get those addressed. Uh, wonderful, wonderful. All right, so we've heard a bit from Bobby, we've heard a bit from Craig. Who else has something wonderful or that they'd like to share, or a question that they'd like to pose, or a topic that they would like to explore with us tonight? Nobody. Should I call on people?
Quiet today.
Tamara, you're an old friend of ours. I see you're on camera, so you're not too
Yeah.
shy. What's going on with you, Tamara?
Not much, just been busy, working and still trying to, fight the good fight. One thing I can, I guess, ask that some of the people I've worked with have been asking, a few of the clients, there's been a lot of, and I can get some feedback from you other coaches here. There has been a lot of talk about the carnivore diet. And then there are still some people that are into the vegetarianism. So I have researched before that the carnivore diet, because it is, because of there's a lot of red meat consumption that is highly acidic. So that may not be the best diet to fight cancer. Whereas all vegetarian diet is also problematic because of the lack of protein. And even with juicing, you have issues there because then you can get a lot of sugars, and then there are some people who have problems with the oxalates. So is there anything that you would or some other coaches could, give insight to me and the audience out there on, you know, the best kind of approach to eating
Absolutely.
to prevent cancer?
Absolutely. So, this is one of the hottest topics that ends up coming up on these calls, and it's of course so pressing, and it's so controversial even because exactly like you said, it is everyone's experience. You look on one a website or article or hear from this one very healthy person and they're saying only eat plants. You hear from this other person, never eat plants, only eat animal products. And then you have everyone saying everything in between. Um, I have experience on both sides of these. I actually lived exclusively as a plant eater for a few years, and now I don't exclude plants, but I do I do eat mostly eggs and meats and cheeses and such, yogurt.
Okay.
And I could give some of my personal experience that I feel the plant-based diet coming off of a more standard diet was a great detoxifier for me. And
Okay.
then after a while, I just felt no matter what combination of plants I did, that my body was not getting something and not getting a lot of things that it really needed. So personally, I feel a lot better on an animal-based diet now. That said, I was never necessarily facing a cancer concern to address. So that, your question is a bit different. But I just want to lend my experience to say that there's no one size fits all, even between different people, but even for one individual person. And I always advocate for people, one, doing research and filtering research through what sits right with you and your heart and your intuition, and of course, your logical mind, and experimentation and just really observing the body and trying things out. Because I also don't think that what's right for someone right now is necessarily what's right for them always and for the rest of their life. We go through different phases and we go through different, you know, things that are going on in our body. And so it can even change person within a person themselves what might be the most ideal. I think ultimately, no matter which end of the spectrum that you're on, if you're cutting out processed garbage and artificial colors and artificial sweeteners and sugar in general and just lots of garbage, either way, you'll probably be in a better stance. But of course, it is important to be getting those micronutrients, which more and more science is agreeing, because for a long time, some science was saying the plant-based was the only way to go. But now we're seeing being brought to the public a lot of science backing that there are certain nutrients in things like the red meats or animal products in general that are very essential for our body, that keep our body functioning. So I'll let Maya weigh in on this as well, and she can expand on her experiences and thoughts.
Okay. Hmm. Oh gosh, it's like such a hot, it's such a hot topic right now, the carnivore. So, first of all, when we make a statement or someone make a statement as, the red meat is acidic and it causes acidity in the body, that's a statement. That is not a legit fact or science behind it. So, to me, we're kind of prone to listen to someone's statement without understanding what exactly, the research has been showing and what exactly out there. Because I have been diving deep into the carnivore. I wanted to know all about it because one of the reasons it just saved my son's life. So, and I wanted to know why. Why did it happen? Nothing helped him, and that helped him. And he had a severe digestive issues that literally reversed completely his health. And as a coach, I wanted to know why. So I went down the rabbit hole and started learning about it. And I spent about 6-7 months learning about it. And what I did a lot of research, I was looking more for research than statements, for a science behind it than statement. So what I learned is made total sense to me, understanding where the carnivore is coming from as a Homo sapiens and having 4.5 basically million years being a meat eaters and survived and kind of life continued, stating that carnivore meat is carcinogenic. It's such a false statement, and it's a wrong statement. So that's what I could say. Do we need to take it out of our diet during the cancer? I don't think so, because that is only thing that does help our body to make new cells, number one, hold on to muscle mass, number two, and give us all the nutrients what we need in most bioavailable form that we can get. So that's what I could say about carnivore. Instead of listening to different people, the best suggestion I could make, just go and learn about it yourself. And then see if that is a right diet for you or someone else. I personally do not take meat out of a diet when I work with my clients, unless they're vegetarians and they would like to stay on vegetarian diet. Because another thing is about fiber and vegetarian and plant-based diet. I actually find the research and the science behind it that fiber do cause microabrasion of the gut lining and creates the hole in the lining that could grow bacteria and cause damage and cause stuff like SIBO, IBS, and other diseases. And when the gut lining is not healthy, the body is not healthy. So that's what I could say. And plus, it would be very hard to be on a plant-based diet and be in the ketosis, particularly when it comes to cancer, without consuming carbohydrates. People cannot gain weight, they cannot hold their body like muscle mass, and it's very important during the cancer. overall it's very important, not only during the cancer. So it's hard to do that being on plant-based only, but it's much easier for body to hold on to its body mass, and we all know how important it is to hold the body mass during cancer, especially for people who go through chemotherapy. So and have a healthy digestive system, particularly with the chemotherapy, because it destroys gut lining, it destroys digestive system. So that's what I could say about carnivore diet. A little bit, but I can say more about it, of course. Yeah.
And the other part of the question originally brought up the, buzzword of acidity. And this is something that has really been part of the pro plant diet and the only plant diets. But I think a big part of the conversation that gets left out is that some parts of our body are supposed to be acidic. For example, our stomach acid is supposed to be acidic. And the way our stomach acid works, and the way our stomach works, at least to my knowledge and understanding of it, is that depending on what we introduce to the stomach, the body reacts by bringing the stomach acid to a pH to properly digest that thing. And so, yes, perhaps if we are introducing meats to our stomach, then it maintains more acidity in the stomach. And then if we eat other things, perhaps it doesn't need that acidity and it becomes less acidic, or whatever the mechanism is. But that's not inherently a bad thing. That's not inherently meaning that every cell of your body in every other place is going to be overly acidic. It's not quite that simple.
Yeah. And couple more things that I would want to add to that. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, this discussion, I guess we've kind of gone through it several times about processed and then red meat and things like that. It's kind of interesting, like while you were talking, sometimes I do go to the National Cancer Institute website, and they do have a lot of resources there. I mean, they will at least say what their view is on all kinds of different topics, Gears and everything. But I just read a study, Zach, while people were talking here, and they talked about how they've been studying the effect of red meat on cancer for a long time and multiple studies through quite a few number of years. And at first they found that there was a correlation. They were studying processed red meat as well as red meat, and they found a correlation with the cancer. But then when they studied it further, the article said, they found that the cancer was really associated with the processed red meat, not the other red meat.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. There you go. So that's what,
I
that's the whole.
I don't necessarily like to go to the NCI, but they do support what you're saying.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, they do.
it's science is such a funny thing, and it's really a societal problem at large that people have been led to blindly trust that if it's written in a peer-reviewed and scientific journaled article that it's fact, and it's just not true. We just got kicked
Yeah.
off of Facebook. Maybe we were talking about something that they didn't want us to talk about. The live stream just ended. I didn't click it, but anyway.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
No
The point,
surprise.
yeah,
Not
the
the
point
fact, yeah.
is that it's you have to consider so many things in reading anything. What is
Yes,
the message? Who is telling you the message? Who sent that person to give you that message?
right.
And what do all of these people want? Like,
Yeah.
it's very easy to read a headline of a study and read a conclusion,
Mhm.
and really few people actually dive into the methodology that was used in whatever that study was, because a lot of these studies use a bunch of jargon and rigmarole terms to make it confusing and complex and just have people just gloss over that. But there's a lot of very flawed science out there, and there's a lot of
Yes.
purposefully misleading science because remember, someone paid for that study. People
Yes,
don't pay for studies for no reason.
That's right.
And if someone's taking their time and spending their resources, there's something that they're looking to get out of conducting this. And although there are wonderful people in this world, it seems that a lot of the people that end up conducting these studies have some sort of motive that they're advancing towards. And that's
yeah,
really just the facts about it. There is
yeah.
wonderful science out there, but there's a whole lot of junk and garbage and just propaganda science out there. And it's a shame, but that's why it's essential to be our own scientists to a degree. Like I said,
Mhm.
if you eat something and you observe how you feel, way to go, science. Like
Yeah.
that's what it is. And of course that can be backed up with reading and comprehension of mechanisms within our body
Hmm.
and studying other people's experiences and stories and seeing that how that relates and how that resonates with you. But it's really an essential thing, I think, for someone to get scientific themselves instead of just outsourcing that to others. I'm gonna
Yeah.
investigate why we got kicked off Facebook.
Crazy.
Uh,
That's crazy.
It is crazy. A couple of other things is the statement that plant-based is alkaline diet. It's also a statement. You have to understand where is it coming from. Is it true science behind it? It's actually not alkaline as we think it is. That's number one. Number two, there is no plant out there, no plant fat out there that would contain all the compound that our body needs, in opposed to animal diet. Animal diet has a package of nutrients that our body needs. That no plant does have that. Plant depleted in so many form of amino acid that is crucial for our liver, proteins, like it's crucial for our liver to convert into the amino acid, and amino acid are like what is it, muscle building blockchain. So we have to understand that. And there's no plant fat out there that would contain any source of vitamin D, K, A, and E, but all animal fat do contain all of those vitamins and minerals. So we have to look in that also. How are we getting our sources in nutrients from? Instead of going supplementing with them, we can go directly from source and take it from there. So, yeah.
Absolutely. It's something that is so controversial, especially in the cancer healing world, because for a long time, the approved science and the approved media, the popular message in all of it was so skewed towards the plant-based diets. And truth be told, our organization and our founder, her research at the time, and again, she didn't conduct her own studies, but she, of course, analyzed and observed a lot of research and then had experience in the field, was very largely with vegetarian and or vegan diets. And that was kind of where this organization came from. But as we are always adapting and as we're always growing, and of course, as we grow into the future, we understand that that's not necessarily a one size fits all solution for everybody. And of course, like you just heard from myself, I'm not shy about saying I primarily am an animal product consumer and I feel healthier than ever. Our CEO, it's the same story with him. He loves his garden of, beans and vegetables and stuff. So, we're not saying that all of those are bad, but, we primarily are, I don't necessarily classify myself carnivore just because labels get kind of silly, but I'm a primarily animal-based eater. Our superstar coach that joins us pretty much every week on these calls, Maya, also has extensive experience in being an animal-based eater herself. We still have wonderful plant-based coaches, but again, it's just time to have the conversation that there's not necessarily a one size fits all, and we're more alike in both of those camps than we are different if we're saying, hey, there's a lot of chemical crap out there, there's a lot of garbage, there's a lot of
Mhm.
poisons that are just clear and evidently bad. just eat real food, whether that's
Mhm.
plants or animals, you'll probably be better off, you know?
Right.
I
Yeah.
just there's so much needless arguing between these different dietary camps and people who make their diet their whole identity and all that. But you know, it's a personal thing and it's something to approach with an open mind. And
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. And like Tim said, the studies that was done on animal product causing cancer being carcinogenic, it was mostly based on processed food, on processed meat, in opposed to real meat. So, and I personally been following about 7 people right now, who do have cancer, and they've been doing carnivore diet for, I think, some of them 1 year now, some of them 6 months, some of them 3 months. I've been just keep following them to see their progress. They all doing very good, and they are on pure carnivore diet, and their cancer, and they're doing, because they were sent home basically to die, and they just came across and learned and just switched it, and they're getting the tumors are shrinking. For someone takes 9 months, for someone takes 6 months. They're shrinking, and they're getting better and better result every couple of months when they have their test done. So I've been following that. I do have a couple of people on carnivore diet, and like Zach said, I've been on a plant-based, not 100% plant-based. I spent quite some time, about, I would say, 7 years of my life, of eating basically 85% plant and adding a little bit animal. So I learned mine hard ways because I started getting problems, and everything had disappeared once I switched to carnivore diet. So
Yeah.
everyone, yes, everything. And I cannot say good enough stuff being on carnivore diet. The way I feel now is 100 times better than I was feeling before. So we always have to learn from our own experiences. Like, I did not talk about carnivore until I went on it, experienced it, and then start talking about it. I did my research for about 6, 7 months. I went on it, and then I start experiencing, I start seeing there's, and I start talking about it. I didn't want to speak about it if I had no idea or no experience with it.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
yeah.
I was wondering, the patients that you're referring to, I have like 2 questions. One, were they on a different type of diet before they went to this carnivore diet?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
number 2, what types of cancers are we talking about?
So the people I'm following, it's from glioblastoma to colon cancer to breast cancer, colorectal cancer. So in my practice, I have a client with a glioblastoma who switched to a carnivore diet during the chemotherapy, and his experience of switching, it was like he stopped getting any side effect from chemotherapy, any, literal zero. There wasn't any side effect from chemotherapy. The nausea, vomiting, tiredness, everything had disappeared, him being on carnivore, and his results were his last result were great. So there wasn't any sign. I do have other couple of other people. The reason was not due to the cancer, the reason was to digestive problems that they were having, and we were trying different things and wouldn't work. They did have a cancer in the past, so I was trying to repair their digestive system. Until they went on carnivore, their digestive would not improve. It didn't matter what we tried, like,
Right, right.
So, and only carnivore made the changes in their like a digestive system. So it became smooth, it became whole, it became, people have to understand, like, when you eat food that completely dissolves and digests in your body, because every part of meat we need, it breaks down and it gets absorbed by body, because 100% bioavailable nutrients. So body takes it everything in. There is no There is no digestive problem in there. It does not get stuck in your small intestine. It does not rot in there. This is such a big assumption. They're saying that people on carnivore, they've been getting the constipation. They don't have a bowel movement. The reason people don't have more bowel movements because everything gets absorbed. There's nothing to come out. The reason people do have a bowel movement being on fiber or on plant-based, because body cannot absorb anything. And anything that if we cannot absorb, body is going to eliminate. So, and you will receive strings and pieces of plants that body cannot break it down and eliminate them. And on the top of it, the plant does contain at least 60 different form of toxins that our body cannot recognize it, and it's toxic for our body, for our system. So we don't know how to break it down. Our body doesn't know.
And an
Yeah.
additional part of the conversation in regards to, people that allege that meat gets stuck in the digestive system. Well, sometimes that might be true, but it might not be from the meat. A big problem is improper food combinations. And a lot of people think that they could just eat whatever they want with whatever they want, and the body will deal with it. But that's not necessarily the
Right.
case. And certain combinations, especially certain very popular food combinations, are actually very, very damaging. And one of the biggest ones is starches alongside with the meats and grains alongside with the meats. And that's some of the most popular stuff, at least in our Western world. Sandwiches with meat, pasta with meat. Like all of these grains, they're sticky, the gluten, they create a paste in the digestive system. It's a very difficult thing for our body to process and process at the same time as meat, which is meant to just move through us pretty quickly. But then when you have this glue, this sticky, grainy starch that glues that meat and sticks it up in us, well, now that's what perhaps is making it stick around longer than it's intended to. So,
I want to
go ahead.
actually add on that part. There's a study I've read just recently that people with constipation, I think there were 57 people who were divided and they were split, and some of them they were continuing the same diet they were on. The other were more driven to plant-based, and the third group was plain pure carnivore. In 2 weeks, they were supposed to continue that diet. In 2 weeks, people who so the byproduct that came from people who had plant-based mix, like a plant-based and carnivore, and meat and everything. So in their feces, there weren't any particle of meat actually. Everything was only plant-based. So the stuff that gets rotten in the body, it's actually plants, it's actual fiber, not meat. Meat get dissolved completely and get absorbed completely. So, and then people who were 2 weeks, they still continue after so many years being on carnivore because that made them feel better. That's repaired their constipation, actually, in opposed to people who had moderate meat intake and people who were vegetarians. So,
Absolutely, a fantastic
yeah.
point.
Right.
I want to welcome our newest friend to the call, Motorcycle Joe. You didn't catch the preamble, but if there's anything that you'd like to pitch to the panel to have answer a question, or if there's any topic that you would like to explore or any experiences that you'd like to share, now would be a wonderful time. You can unmute yourself. You can hop on camera if you're comfortable doing so, or you can put a question right in the chat if you know how to do that as well. And we have approximately 15 minutes remaining. And yeah, we'd love to hear from anyone that would like to share something with the group.
I would like to say something about the meat and the vegetables and plant-based. And there's a lot of study on that, and I'm just learning as much as, and this group is wonderful that we can share in and absorb everything we can. Um, I think for me, I believe in a balance and an awareness, and I think like Zach said, personalize. And if you're eating all plant and maybe you're breaking out or you have a rash or you're having stomach problems or it's a tap on the shoulder, you got to change things. I think your selection of meat is really, really important. Like Maya was saying, no processed meat. Stay away from all of that. And hot dogs and barbecue and there's a lot that I think is really bad, and know where your meat comes from. I myself, my doctor told me a long time ago to only eat halal. I only eat halal meat, HALAL, or
Yeah.
kosher.
Yes,
I
sure.
don't buy from the stores, or as a matter of fact, this Saturday we're going to a farmer's market, and then we're going to a place that they're open only Saturdays and Wednesdays, and they have their own beef and chickens and everything, and we're going to buy our meat from that source also. I think be very careful where you're getting your meat from, because a lot of meat has pumped chickens and all kinds of stuff that you don't want. And that messes up your body. It really does. So where you're getting your food is very, very important. So it's
Absolutely.
I hope Tamara, we answered your question.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I have had people I work with, um, it's so confusing because when you're coaching and you're usually dealing with people who are going outside or trying to get outside the mainstream medical. And so that means you might be dealing with a person who likes to explore and
Yeah,
research. But then that also opens them up to a lot of misinformation. Then they bring it back to us and we have to then straighten that,
yeah,
out, or have to know how to answer those questions that they may come across being out there on the wild, wild web.
right. Yeah. And
Call it so.
yeah, coming even to us, like don't just like listen to people, what people are saying. Because we're working with people. I personally always go down the rabbit hole, learn before I would speak about it. I
Mhm.
won't speak about it if I'm not sure what I'm saying. And
Yeah,
definitely I would not refer to my client. That's for sure.
right.
So there's a lot of misguidance out there, and we just have to be very cautious what we're reading, where the source is coming, what we're reading, and just like, and understanding. So I would say that more than anything.
Yeah.
Because last thing we want to do is misguide the client that is already been misguided,
Yes.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
And you're very right on that, because I haven't tried the carnivore diet long enough, but I have heard some people had success. And that's why I wanted to just give you guys an opportunity, or anyone an opportunity to speak on it if they had been, in one particular diet and then switched over, since that is like a new trendy thing. Because I didn't, nothing was really working well for me, because after years of chemo, my gut health is totally destroyed. So I
Mhm.
first, like you were saying, have to um, just repair the gut lining before I can absorb any type of nutrients. And no, I mean, it didn't make sense for me to do supplements or anything, because it was
Right.
just gone.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Don't go on it if you are not sure how to do it. The being
Mhm.
on carnivore, that doesn't mean you go ahead and eat meat and that's it.
Mhm.
There's its own way of eating meat, how much meat you have to consume, how much fat you have to consume. Meat and
Right,
fat ratio has to be, because
right.
they will cause, I've been on carnivore since April, so there's going to be heartburn, there's going to be, um, for diabetic people, for example, your liver would make glucose from protein too, from animal protein. So you always have to know the ratio. You always have to know. That's why I said before I decided to become a carnivore, it took me about 6 or 7 months going down rabbit hole, understanding it, learning everything about it, and kind of transitioning gradually.
Yeah.
It took me about 6 weeks to transition into the carnivore. I didn't do all at once. So that would be my recommendations for people who are looking into going into the carnivore, at least talking to people and doing their research before they just would jump on it and just do it.
Yeah.
Another thing to note is that sometimes things have to get worse for
Mhm.
them to get better. And
Yes,
this is something that happens when people start cleaning up their diets. A lot of the times, you might feel worse at first, but that's a
right,
good thing.
right.
That's a good thing. The process of detoxification means that you're taking toxins that were stored away and tucked away in wherever your body tucked them away to protect you from them. And when we're on a detoxification diet or a detoxifying diet, those have to come out, but first they have to get dug up from wherever they're hiding, and then they circulate throughout the body before they get purged. And while that's happening, depending on how much you're stirring up and getting out of you, that can feel very, very bad. That could come in the form of nausea, headaches,
Yeah.
fatigue,
Itching.
that all sorts of things, all sorts of symptoms. And then a lot of people who don't understand these detoxification mechanisms, they attribute those negative feelings to whatever they're trying and think now that made them feel bad, not understanding that it's actually the old stuff that the new thing is helping you get out. So it is actually a good thing, and it's temporary and it's going to pass. So, understanding the fundamentals of how the body works and the body systems like those detoxification symptoms and like our assorted detoxification avenues and pathways and keeping them in good health, especially when we are trying to detoxify specifically, really is fundamental for setting ourselves up for success and not stopping something that might be very good for us just because we're hitting a little bump in the road. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's necessary. Anyone who cleans their house knows. Sometimes you have to make the whole place look a mess. Dig everything up. Take, everything that you pushed in a pile, you have to dismantle it to
Yeah.
then
Right,
put everything away nicely. It's
right,
just how things work.
Yeah.
right.
By the way, you were talking about meat, and I just thought of something. And Maya, you might know, or someone know about this because I just learned this myself. We're all hearing about, of course, you should eat grass-fed beef, properly, right? And then I
Yeah,
heard grass-fed finished.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then now I've heard you don't just want grass-fed and finished, you want, because they say finished, and that's when they're just a calf.
Mhm,
Now you want grass-fed finished to slaughter. And that's
mhm.
so
Oh my God. That's so
people
complicated.
Yeah,
stop. So I think with health, it is so important to know read your labels. I mean, bread used to have 4 ingredients, now it has 24. Do you want to eat that anymore? No. And
no,
it's so important to really do your research and what you're putting in your body. And if you have reactions,
yeah,
you got to figure it out. That's why you shouldn't, like supplements, you shouldn't just take a bunch of supplements. How do you
exactly.
know what's right and what's wrong?
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
and also there's so much, let me tell you, I know because I'm with a formulator, there's horrible stuff out there. People are making vitamins in a canoe. And
yeah,
I always say, well, do you know where you're getting them from? Someone's in a basement with roaches and
yeah,
rat.
yeah,
No, I've got stories. So that's the
yeah,
whole thing. Is know where you're getting your beef from. Know that it's quality grass-fed and finished, just like your butter. grass-fed. But all those things make a difference in your health because
Right.
you're putting it in your body. And I'll
Right.
tell you, I'd rather do something healthy for my body than, I mean, people, their choices, they'd rather buy shoes and silly things. They've got plenty instead
Yeah.
of their health. That's the most important thing.
And the
So
Yeah.
funny part is that those shoes that they're buying are probably bad for their health too. That's a whole
Yes, yeah, that's exactly what it is.
I have a
most
friend.
people's shoes are hurting them in a variety of
I
ways.
yeah.
I have
Another great thing about it, like I basically stopped taking so many supplements. So I don't spend my time on supplements anymore because I'm getting my needed nutrients from meat that I eat at
Mhm.
high quality because I buy it only at the farmer's market. I went and I checked the farm myself, where my food is coming from, and I just buy from one farm all my produce. I don't go to grocery stores. Fortunately, we don't need to go to grocery stores because we don't eat a lot of vegetables now. We do some, but not whole a lot. So, and actually we save more money than we ever, you know, we don't spend as much money as we did before buying tons of vegetables, and plus I don't spend a lot of time in the kitchen anymore, like washing my vegetables, making juice out of them, making salad. It just like a time wise, the quality wise, and saving wise, it's in so many ways it's so convenient. And then of course now I take probably 3 or 4 supplements now, but that's me because I don't need it anymore.
no.
So
And
that's another sign. Yeah.
One of the things I had trouble with was my vitamin D.
Mhm.
And I'm somebody that spends a lot of time out in the sun.
Yeah.
I'm also a fisherman. I'm a trout fly fisherman, and I spend a lot of time tromping around the rivers.
Right. Yeah. That
It,
is good.
it keeps me healthy, and it connects me with nature and everything, you know.
Right.
But even with all the sun and everything, my vitamin D was like in the low 30s or something like that.
I
And
will I can explain that part
then
why.
I was taking supplements and it still wasn't working. And then the people said, well, why don't you do vitamin D with vitamin K? Because some of the cells apparently can't pick up the vitamin D without the K vitamin, bound to it. And once I
Mhm.
made that change with the supplement, I got my vitamin D up to 60. But so I think that's a case where I've really, and I use this very high quality, I don't know, Nordic vitamin D with vitamin K, and it's got mushrooms and different things in it. I stick with that one. It
Yeah.
works. It brought me up to 60, but I don't know if I was getting it from the sunshine and the natural foods.
Here's the thing though. Well, there's no good brand of vitamin D because vitamin D comes from only one source, which is cholecalciferol, and that is toxic to our body. That's all I could say. Number one, because it's a rat poisoning. Cholecalciferol, they use it to poison rats. So we basically been putting like cholecalciferol in a small amount every single day in our life. I mean, I did take it a big dosages too, but the main, if you understand the way our body process vitamin D,
Mhm.
to process vitamin D and to absorb into the cell, your body needs cholesterol.
Mhm.
That's it.
Right.
I mean, if you don't have enough fat, cholesterol, particular cholesterol lipid, it
Mhm.
doesn't really matter. You can take tons of vitamin D and you can be in the sun as much as you want to. But if you don't have a baseline where it has to bind itself to cholesterol lipids to be able for your liver to process it. So if you don't have enough cholesterol lipids, that's the reason you cannot process
Yeah.
vitamin D in your body. So
It's one thing to take it, it's another thing to absorb it. It's a
exactly.
whole other thing.
That's the thing. It wasn't being absorbed in the original vitamin form. I mean,
Mhm.
my diet used to be more carnivore. I grew up with a lot of fish. I grew up in the West Coast, and as a young boy, I fished. I caught salmon, trout. I had a freezer full of fish.
Yeah.
That fed us, all through the winter. My brothers hunt.
Yeah.
They eat wild elk, that are out in the forest. and they
Right.
clean themselves, and that was, and I ended up with prostate cancer, but there's no prostate cancer in my family other than
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
going back, like, through a lot of men,
Yeah.
there's actually very little cancer at all in my family history, but I ended up with this prostate cancer. And I'm doing but my diet has changed a lot in recent years. It's very, like 85% vegetarian, a lot of grains and things like that. And
Yeah.
now I'm trying to go back more some grass-fed meat, some, high quality fish and things like that. So, but just, and there are studies, I guess you probably seen a bunch of studies that show, that, the meat gives you, the ketogenic diet helps with, cell health and everything like that. So,
Right. Which has been around for a long time.
yeah.
Ketogenic diet been around for a long time. And it's just we don't pay attention. The other thing that would slow down the absorption of vitamin D when people wear sunglasses. We don't realize that, but simple sunglasses, wearing them on your face, your body's not going to absorb vitamin D because of the signaling of the eye retina to the brain.
Oh,
You're in the sun. Our body is connected with nature. We have to always be kind of part of nature, not isolate ourselves.
I
When we
just, I
put,
just, I just started occasionally wearing, sunglasses over these.
No, they're actually very harmful. They're
they are
actually
very
very, very
harmful.
harmful.
Are
Not
they?
just, yeah, they're harmful to the eyes themselves, but then also to the skin. It's
Oh,
actually it makes you far more susceptible to damage to the skin because the sun does not inherently cause skin damage.
Yeah.
But when our skin is not allowed to properly prepare for sun absorption because our eyes are telling our brain that it's dark out, then our
oh,
skin is not ready. Our body works as a whole.
signal.
Nothing is isolated, and
Okay.
we're intended to operate as we are designed. And though there are certain animals out there that have multiple eyelids with different shade levels to them, we're not one of them. We're supposed to be on or off. And it's supposed to be dark or it's supposed to be bright, and not anywhere in between. And even everything that we don upon our bodies is super essential to consider the ramifications that it's having. Because in addition to sunglasses, if we're wrapping ourselves in synthetic fabrics, well, this isn't synthetic, but if we are wrapping ourselves in synthetic fabrics and clothing, now that's actually interrupting our relationship with the sun and the environment around us in a lot of ways as well. And that's certainly something we can go into in next week's call or whenever else. But this one has come to a close. Anyone that is a coach, by all means, please do join us in 10 minutes on our coaches community call. For anyone else, please do join us next week, same time, same place. If you're catching this recording and would like to join us live on the Zoom, you can go to BeatCancer.org, click on the weekly call button right at the top, and that'll allow you to join this Zoom call. Again, this is free to join, no commitment necessary. Anybody is welcome. You can be on camera. You don't have to be. You can join on the call on the mic. You don't have to. But we welcome all participation, and we're just looking to get to the bottom of some interesting health information. So thank you to all the participants, and we hope to see you next week.
Thanks, Zach.
Bye, everyone.
See you guys.
Bye.
Have a
Good
good
to
one.
see you.
Thanks, Zach.